Here we are, and welcome to Career Coaching After Hours. I'm your host, John Davidson. Thank you for joining me for episode 8 already. Very much appreciate your time. It's season 1. Oh my gosh, is it July 2024 already? Hard to believe. So thank you very much again for joining me for this episode. Really excited to get into some of the topics and some of the weeds of some of the questions I'm going to raise. Many times I've coached and counseled my clients in career search and job search mode and asked them some questions about how they look and where they look for new jobs or for new employers. And so often I see this concept of the tail wagging the dog pop up again and again with different folks, different backgrounds, maybe different career search goals. And so I'll dive into that, this concept of why so many folks in career search mode or maybe job transition mode emphasizing open jobs or maybe some of the laundromat type job boards that are out there in a career search, and maybe not quite as often specific organizations of interest or not employers, kind of this going direct model. So thank you very much for joining me. Again, this series is Career Coaching After Hours, and it's a bit audience agnostic. So again, I may be your career coach, I'm probably not, but I've returned to YouTube, as many folks have asked me, to dive into topics that I've either coached on, counseled on, or written about over the years. And so these topics are going to range a bit, and I hope you find them very valuable. Yes, there will be music, and you might notice the music is a bit different this episode. As usual, I'll give you my quick and dirty disclaimers. So likely, again, I'm not your career coach, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. And again, as I like to say, to the best of my knowledge, reflects my opinion on all of these slides. Again, these are my opinions, and it is to the best of my knowledge here in July 2024. As usual with anything on YouTube or online, check your sources, so definitely protect your senses. Absolutely feel free to take a look at my background and vet my skills, training, and education, those types of things, before you dig deep into my series. All right, so here's a fun question I like to throw out to clients. Why are you looking for jobs at the gosh darn laundromat? And when I say that, I'm trying to get a little bit of a rise or a little bit of a reaction out of folks, or maybe a query that raises some eyebrows just a little bit. But many times I've suggested that some of the big job boards, such as the Indeeds and the Glassdoors and the Monsters, even LinkedIn, maybe are akin to your local laundromat. So if you've ever been to a laundromat, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a commercial enterprise where you can take your dirty laundry and get it all cleaned up and washed up. But almost every time I've ever been to a laundromat, there's some kind of a community board or a job board. And so sometimes I elbow clients and get them to maybe consider that some of these big job boards are just that, they're job boards. And whether or not we need to distinguish between a career search or a job search, that's maybe a different topic for a different episode. But these boards certainly are not new. As you'll see, Monster, they're celebrating a 30-year anniversary. They've been around since literally 1994. For crying out loud, I've been using LinkedIn since 2006. So this has been a very classic way for folks to look for jobs, is to maybe not look at their local newspaper, go to job fairs, or look direct, but to go to these big aggregators or boards. So this laundromat equation pops up pretty regularly with folks I work with. And again, I work with a very diverse range of wonderful, bright human beings, all walks of life, all types of industries and fields. But I also elbow clients to think through this idea, very simple concept, that if you take a job, you get 2 free bonuses, typically, unless you're self-employed. Those 2 free bonuses being an employer, an emp or an org, and a boss. So if you can think of a job where you don't get a new employer and a new boss, you let me know. But last I checked, when you take a new job, typically you're going to get kind of this trifecta. So one of my concerns is this idea of balance. Whether you're, again, in job search or career search mode, maybe you might want to think about going direct, as I like to say. And so sometimes I see some trepidation around this, as in folks applying to lots of jobs, maybe lowercase j jobs, but maybe haven't identified a solid hit list of target employers yet, or maybe think some of their dream employers are out of reach somehow, or maybe think that they don't have what it takes to work at the Fortune 500 level, or maybe they just want to completely exit big corporate structures or some of the big juggernauts. And so I've written on this topic of mapping out typologies of employers of interest, whether that's best companies to work for, or maybe nonprofits you're interested in, or the Fortune 500, what have you. And so I'll dig deep on this. I haven't written a whole lot on the Fortune 500 here in Washington State this year in 2024. So in a way, I'm going to take care of a few birds with a single stone in this episode. So we'll take a look at how Washington State did in the rankings. If you're not here in Washington, you can use this as a bit of a case study if you like. So if you live in the United States, of course, you can take a look at the annual Fortune 500 ranking and see how your state did, or maybe some of the states in your locality, wherever you are in the United States. This year, Washington State happened to land 12 entrants on the list. Congrats and kudos to all of you organizations on this list. I think a couple probably deserve an asterisk. We'll talk about that. And so I'll dig in on each of these. But based on my math, just here in the last 48 hours, there are thousands of open jobs between just this subset of 12 employers. And to be clear, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with looking at the Indeeds and the Glassdoors and the LinkedIns and the Monsters, but maybe as part of a balanced career search diet or approach, maybe we dig a little bit deeper into organizations that might give us a lot of bang for our buck. And so, as I mentioned, in just a relatively small subset, this dirty dozen of Washington State-based employers, there are quite literally thousands of open jobs as of right now. In some cases, I filtered down a little bit more discreetly into Washington or Puget Sound even, or Seattle, but we'll take a look at those step by step. I'll run through these here. If you have any questions about how I got the data, feel free to message me, and all of those links will be in the notes here on YouTube. So we'll take a little bit of a deep dive here. Number one on the list is 2 overall, Amazon. And of course, Amazon, very large employer. They're a FANG company, they're a mama company, and I saw thousands of open jobs, even if you filter down for the local Seattle area here, on a full-time basis. So there's a screenshot. And again, you might see some of Amazon's open jobs on LinkedIn or on Indeed or Glassdoor, and that's fine. But does it behoove you to maybe consider a tech juggernaut as part of your balanced career search, especially when they have so many different roles in different areas? You can see that's just a smattering of them. There are jobs in marketing, operations, of course AI, software development, what have you. All right, let's move on here just a little bit. Number 2 on our list is 11 overall, Costco. And full disclosure, I could say from the slide above, Amazon has tried to recruit me. I've not worked for Amazon. And Costco, full disclosure, I no longer have a membership, but I think they're pretty darn snazzy. Of course, Washington State has a very strong retail and strong tech and aerospace and video game and all kinds of subset, kind of almost subcultures of great employers. And so I think Costco is actually a really interesting one because so many folks consider store level roles and maybe forget that plenty of roles at the corporate level as well. And I suppose also, full disclosure, they did just invite me to a training, so Costco, give me a call back and maybe we can get something set up. All right, let's take a look at number 3 on our list, Microsoft. And I should say, one of the things about Microsoft that I really like is the fact that they've doubled down on the Puget Sound economy here. You could say Amazon a couple slides ago maybe as an asterisk, being that they created a second headquarters on the East Coast. But I still very much consider Amazon and Microsoft, of course, they're big tech companies, to be headquartered here, functionally really here and built in Washington. So I'm a big fan of Microsoft products. Of course, they own LinkedIn, and I seem to always use Microsoft Word and PowerPoint and Excel. You might notice I'm using PowerPoint here for our presentation. But even just the other day, 650 plus open jobs in Puget Sound, and of course in a whole host of areas. So maybe Microsoft is in your future. Hundreds of different roles if we scale down and take a look. And here we go, number 4 on our list overall. Now we're into the hundreds. Starbucks cracked the Fortune 150. They sit at spot number 116. I'm a big fan of Starbucks. Again, full disclosure, I'm a coffee drinker. I think it's a great brand overall. And again, strong retail emphasis here in Puget Sound, here in Washington State. But even just around 10 miles of Seattle, you can see in my screenshot there, more than 200 open jobs. So again, I might nudge folks to keep in mind, if you like a brand, many times there could be opportunities outside of the store level. So you think about like a Nordstrom or a Starbucks or an REI. If you really are a diehard shopper there, or a customer or a guest, maybe they should be on your radar, looking direct. All right, we'll dig a little bit deeper. Next up, number 5 on our list is 122. Overall, PACCAR. Who doesn't love trucks? So again, I think great brand. I think maybe sometimes we forget that Puget Sound has such an incredible manufacturing sector, not just in aerospace, but in big rigs. And so just in the Renton area, just south of Seattle, more than 100 open jobs at PACCAR as we speak. And again, maybe a bit of a disclaimer, these numbers may very well change. I typically take them at their word when it comes to Pacific Northwest based companies, even Nike in Oregon or Micron in Idaho. I think we've got a pretty good track record of relatively few ghost jobs. So I'll put my reputation out on the line there. So I'm assuming that all of these stats, hopefully really low percentage of ghost jobs out there. But again, 100 plus roles that are open right now. And many of these organizations, wonderful employers, but they may not put all of their open roles on some of those big aggregators, those laundromat boards. And here we have a new entrant to the Fortune 500, Coupang, which I think is a great firm, what they're doing with e-commerce, very exciting. Take a look at what they're doing, what they're building, headquartered in South Korea. So maybe I should say Annyeonghaseyo. And I think my pronunciation is still pretty good in terms of my Korean, but I thought it was really interesting that just in the Seattle area, you've got more than 30 open jobs. And so again, up and coming company that is now officially in the Fortune 500 based in Seattle. So maybe we could put a little bit of an asterisk there. Of course, they've got other big hubs around the world, but really interesting. And so if you're maybe thinking big retail e-commerce or big tech, maybe you want to go outside of the Microsofts and the Amazons, Coupang might be an option. So there we go. Nordstrom coming in next, number 7. So now we're into the Fortune 300, and they come in at 286. Full disclosure, I'm a member of the Nordy Club. I like Nordstrom. Of course, I do shop elsewhere occasionally, but just in the Seattle area, again, we're kind of into that, nearly 100 open jobs framework. So quite a few open roles, and occasionally you'll see Nordstrom post their jobs elsewhere, but really nice to see that they've got a strong retail presence across the country. But if you just dial into this one metro area, lots of open jobs. So if you've maybe never thought about big retail, it might be an idea to put some Venn diagramming to work, where again, you may not have a background in retail, but maybe you have some Fortune 500 experience or some corporate sector experience. You might want to take a look at some of these bigger organizations and see just where you might fit in and explore some of their open jobs. And you'll see just right there, not all the jobs are necessarily related directly to store level work. So you've got investigator type roles, or engineer roles, data analyst roles there with Nordstrom. Let's keep on rolling. Let's go to number 8 on the list, Expedia. Full disclosure, yes, I use Expedia. I have an account. I think they're great for booking travel. I don't fly a whole lot, but I was actually pleasantly surprised to see more than 100 roles open right here in primarily this is United States. Most of those are going to be in the Seattle metro area, of course, but again, wide range of roles, not just necessarily engineering or software development roles. So if you're thinking about a solid brand, maybe in travel, hospitality, again, or a larger corporate organization, Expedia might not be a bad idea to take a look at. Number 9 on our list, again, my full disclosure, I'll keep kind of ticking away at that. I love Alaska Airlines. They're my favorite airline overall. I was a bit surprised, maybe. Only 30-some open jobs here in the United States. And so this is, again, across the country, so I did a little bit of a broader search. So many different roles open. And again, these numbers fluctuate. So feel free to take a look at that. And again, I see Lululemon popped into the list. Officially, they're headquartered in Vancouver, BC. I double-checked that. I did a little bit of a double take. So Lululemon, I don't have a whole lot of experience. Not a shopper there. I don't buy their clothing, but I am familiar with the brand. Folks really seem to like it. But I was pleasantly surprised just how many open roles there were just in the Seattle area. So about 40 roles, not just at the store level, but some kind of corporate level roles as well. So you could say that maybe that's an asterisk, being that they're kind of technically just over the border in Canada. But you know what? I'll take it. So we've got 12 on our list this year, even with an asterisk. But again, wonderful brands. Points to that strong PNW retail element. And then coming in at number 11, Expeditors, which again, I've written many articles and features on the Fortune 500 best companies to work for, and you'll see Expeditors pop up in those kind of lists pretty regularly. They're still in Fortune 500. They're just over the 400 mark. They're at 420. But even right here in the Seattle area, about 30 open roles. And so you may not, in fact, have to have a logistics background or a supply chain background to take a look at some roles with Expeditors. Incredibly well respected in their field. And then we'll round out the list with Weyerhaeuser. And I did spell it correctly. So again, I love trees, but I also love paper, full disclosure. And so they're sitting at 476, a little closer to the top end of the Fortune 500. And 130 some jobs across the country that are open as of just the other day. So feel free to take a look at my math and check me on this. But I hope that helps. And so again, if you're here in Washington, or maybe you're in the Pacific Northwest and you're in career search mode, it may behoove you to take a look at some level of subsets. Again, whether that's best employers to work for based on a major publication that you trust, maybe Fortune 500, even Fortune 1000, if you want to go a little bit deeper. If you subscribe, or if you have questions about how to get that data, feel free to send me a message. Not that hard to filter out. But I would also say, don't forget about other subsets or typologies. And what I mean there is maybe consider nonprofits or the feds. Don't forget the feds. One of my classic catchphrases. Or maybe academia, maybe UW, Wazoo, Seattle U. We have all kinds of wonderful universities and colleges across the Pacific Northwest. Or maybe even consulting. To give you a bit of a sneak preview, though, again, this is a little bit more of a spotlight on large organizations, so I'm not necessarily trying to nudge folks there, but it just might be the case that I'm working on putting together a virtual, super cool organizational job fair. So you might see a few organizations or employers there that you've heard of before that might have a strong track record in their area. Maybe, I don't know, video games or entertainment or nuclear fusion, maybe some nonprofits, what have you. So it just might be the case that I'm working on putting together a large virtual fair with some of those organizations. So maybe if nothing else, this gets you to think about your own list and what you want to put together as far as a kind of a going direct model. So I hope you appreciate the episode. I had a lot of fun with this one. Again, my thought process with these episodes is where I can maybe riff on some topics that I've worked with clients on and dig a little bit deeper. But absolutely talk back to me. I want to hear your thoughts. If you think I'm on target or off base, those are a few sources I typically cite in these episodes. Feel free to reach out. There's my email address right there, john@johndavidson.com, or john@olympicresume.com if you prefer, or any one of my websites there. Feel free. And thank you very much to Low Frequency Music. Oh my gosh, support Low Frequency Music. It's great stuff. Very relaxing. I enjoyed listening to it as I built this presentation, so I hope you enjoy the music as well. Some nice links there. Thank you very much. All rights reserved. And thank you, viewers, clients, supporters, my students, everyone who's checking me out on YouTube. Feel free to like and share and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. So take care. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have some ideas on the next episode. All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much.